How many of you have heard the term applied cryptography before? Some of you. Is anyone wondering what the hell that means? Yes. Basically means sitting in a dark basement playing with large theoretical numbers, trying to develop encryption, being confused about what a woman is. And whilst my profession may have changed to some degree, many things haven't. So my name is James Lyne, the Director of Technology Strategy at Sophos, and I'm going to be talking about security, the key skill. This is my preferred biography photo because I think it better represents my personality, although I've been bullied many times into having a haircut by Sophos. I guess that the starting tenet of my presentation is to talk about the radical speed at which technology and the threat that we're all having to deal with from public to private sector is changing. And to do that, I want to take you through a journey of how the threat has evolved, pull out some of the key examples of the latest malicious code. And I've actually brought with me a cool flashing laptop with a red flashing keyboard, so it looks really dangerous. Took me about 4 weekends of hacking to get it to work. Brilliant. With some live malware so that I can show you exactly the kind of things that we require from the modern security specialist and the kinds of traits that we'd be looking for in candidates. So to start my story, I guess we need to go back to the first wave of malicious code. Back in the old days, some 25 to 20 years ago, malware used to be kind of interesting. You see, my favourite virus of all time, that probably puts me in a relatively unique category, also not a good pickup line in bars, I should add. Also, I've tried, I own the second lowest IP address on the internet. That doesn't work either, so don't make notes. My favourite virus of all time, you would double click on this attachment and it would open and a big green worm would appear on the screen and he would eat all of your icons before defecating in the bottom left-hand corner. It was awesome. There was the time that we irritated a virus writer so much that they took a photo of our head of PR at the time, Graham Cluley, chap many of you may have come across. And when you ran this particular virus, his face would appear on the screen and you had to throw coconuts at his face to use your computer again. Malware was freaking awesome. But then 8 or 9 years ago, it started to shift more towards the threat that we recognise today. We saw examples of Britney Spears' nude and naked sideways.exe. Real example, by the way. And no, I have no idea how you can be nude and naked at the same time. I always thought they were the same thing. The Nigerian banker that wants to give you, sir, $63 million because he loves your face. And it's wonderful, by the way. Or perhaps, you know, some banking-related threat trying to trick you into providing your financial information so they can steal money from you. These are all threats that we've started to recognise and deal with. It's the world that we've been living in for some time. But we're now entering into the third wave of malicious code over the last couple of years. And things are escalating significantly. And yes, that is a bed of money. Isn't that amazing? The thing that's happened is the bad guys have started to form an illicit economy. They've started to generate products, services. And as any economist will tell you, with an illicit economy comes innovation, comes development, research, funding. Did you know that you can now go online and you can get technical support from a Russian criminal gang on how to use their malware to more effectively steal data? That criminalisation, that professionalisation of the problem domain has radically changed the industry, and it's affecting everyone from the consumer up to the largest business and government network in a way that we have not seen since the shift from the mainframe computer. Today in Sophos labs, we see over 150,000 individual new pieces of malicious code every single day. An astonishing quantity and quality of malware, a 5-fold increase over only a couple of years before. A terrifying sign of the times. We find a new infected web page every 4 seconds on average, 24 hours a day, flowing through constantly. And it's interesting, we all hold these certain ideas about IT security. Sometimes it's hard to get rid of old facts. For example, many of us will the very first question we ask someone who's had their computer infected, say, which porn site did you go to? Right? If your friends and family are infected, that's normally, come on, which site did you go to? At which point they own up to having gone to interestingcricketballs.com and finding something rather unexpected. Please don't go there, I haven't checked it. So, interestingly, the majority of malicious code now is actually coming from legitimate businesses that have been infected using tools that I'm going to demonstrate later in my presentation. Small businesses, medium-sized businesses distributing malicious code to their customers. We see evolutions of conventional social engineering. The Canadian pharmacy, my personal favourite. This has been around since 2003, evolving in different forms. I have no idea why they're Canadian. Apparently, they are just trustworthy, and it's a good place to buy your Viagra and Cialis. Someone care to explain that to me later? I'd be very interested to know. So the idea is simple. You go to this site, or respond to a phishing email, and type in your credit card details. They steal your money, and game over. You not only don't get your drugs, which of course is very upsetting, but you find a big dent in your bank account. But the bad guys have been diversifying their business model as well. To show the maturity that they've now adopted, you can go to these sites, order your Viagra, and they will actually send it to you. The thing is, it's a cheap Indian or Chinese mass-produced knockoff as opposed to the original product. It was one of the more interesting tests we've had to do in Sophos labs to validate that the product had the desired effect. There is a YouTube video, if anyone would like to see it. But it's interesting because they've developed essentially a subscription scam model where they're going to take money from you on an ongoing basis and you're going to trust them. In fact, if your bank calls you and says, are you paying XYZ criminal gang, you'll probably defend them because they're supplying your Viagra. So it's fascinating to see the diversity of business models they're adopting. And 36 million people, just from the records we can see, bought these drugs online last year. Now, I talked about professionalization of the bad guys. Here is perhaps the most stunning example of that. This is a managed service quality assurance capability for criminal gangs. You write your virus and you go to this website, create an account, type in your credit card details, well, presumably not your credit card details, that would be ridiculous. You use some that you've stolen. And then you upload your virus, hit check file, and it runs a scan against all of the latest antivirus products out there and generates a lovely, pretty PDF report. Actually looks like it was built on a Mac. It's got sexy shadows and all those things we expect from Mac files, telling you which of these products detected your malicious code and which didn't. Quality assurance in the cloud for a few dollars for the criminals by the criminals. That's the increasing threat that we're facing. Crime packs. Packs designed to allow the bad guys to generate new malware to steal specific data from a company that they're targeting. I saw one of these the other day that had an app store built into it, kind of like iTunes, where you could buy the latest vulnerabilities, either exclusive or based on a stock market price, based on how many people were using it. And it was actually better designed than Apple's iTunes. Are there any journalists here? That's excellent. It's entirely quotable.
Shuttle house rules apply.
Oh, no, that's no fun at all. We've seen diversification of the platforms the bad guys are targeting too, which is going to have a huge impact on the skills that we need in businesses to protect against malicious code, hacking and other such security incidents. Here we've got a copy of fake antivirus for the Mac. Now, in December last year, we saw 100,000 variants of fake antivirus alone. If imitation is the highest form of flattery, I guess we AV vendors should be really flattered, right, Martin? Here we've got an example of fake AV for the Mac. And are there any Mac users here? Yes? Yeah, excellent. Any? No, really? None down here at all? I was going to say, you look like a Mac user. I love the way you hang your head in shame. Quick couple of questions, just check my statistics. Do you drink lattes?
Not really.
No?
No.
Ever wear a mock turtleneck?
Not since the 1980s.
Chinos?
Never.
No? You never dress like Steve Jobs?
No.
That is statistically improbable as a Mac user, I should warn you. I was presenting at this conference in Singapore once. There was a few thousand people from the Singaporean government and providers, and I asked this question. I staggered to the front of the stage because I couldn't see properly. And on the right-hand side, this gentleman stood up, and I asked him these questions, and he had a Mac in his left hand, a latte in his right hand, was dressed like Steve Jobs and even looked like him. It was amazing. But what was really brilliant was just to his left was a guy with a beard that was about this long. You know, it would have looked perfectly normal to be carrying an axe. Yeah? You know what I mean? And I just looked at him and went, FreeBSD, Unix, version 4.71. And he just went, yes. So it's fascinating, the stereotypes that we have in IT. I'm sure that's a useful recruitment skill that you can use. Incidentally, has anyone here got leather pads on their elbows? Okay, no novel netwear people then. All right, that's... So we're starting to see more malicious code on alternative platforms like the Mac. Just as serious, stealing data, all the same, causing serious issues for our customers. We're starting to see a throwback to hacktivism. And Richard mentioned, you know, the Sony compromises and other such incidents where the bad guys are trying to make a political point and breaching significant amounts of data. Now, I actually brought this nasty laptop with me, and I'm going to plug it in quickly. You'll forgive a bit of a rusty transition. One-handed typing can only get to about 40 words a minute. Here we go. And would anyone like to see how the Sony hack worked?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Excellent. So I'm going to attempt, and may fail horribly, to make a live demonstration of a security problem interesting. It's good. Normally people laugh at that. Okay. It's a solid rule in presenting. If someone doesn't laugh at what you say, then point out that normally people laugh and they'll laugh. It always works. Okay, so what I've got here is a reconstruction that I've built of Sony's website, and I've coded the back end to this database particularly poorly, exactly like most websites on the internet, in fact. It's talking to a back-end server that contains a database of customers, okay? Now don't switch off, this isn't going to be horrifyingly technical. It's very, very simple. Like most websites on the internet, I can log in to this page. And when I log in, it gives me some details from a database, like my username, password, reward code, maybe some news stories, whatever, okay? So that's the normal operation of the website. All these breaches that we've been seeing recently are actually due to a 15-year-old, very well understood vulnerability that should have been fixed a long time ago. And we'll come back to why that hasn't happened imminently. What I've done here is inserted a little tricky command that I'm going to explain to you. There are lots of variations on this, but they all come down to the same principle. And this is exactly how the bad guys have stolen data. And it will make a point about the kind of skills we might need to see to help us deal with these issues in the future. So I've put my name in, James Lyne. What this application does is it goes to a database at the back end and says, show me all the users where the username equals Lyne. Very simple. Just like if you were searching on CWJobs site and you put an attribute in to say, show me all the users with this particular skill or this particular location. But I've tricked the system with this little comma, sorry, this little apostrophe, into saying, and in addition to that, give me anything where 1 equals 1. Now, do we have any quantum mathematicians in the room? Excellent. So we all agree that 1 does equal 1. Seriously, I've had that argument on stage. It's about 4 pages of proof. It's very irritating. So 1 always equals 1 to a computer. So when we run this search, the back-end database, instead of giving me the records where username equals Lyne, gives me where 1 equals 1 and dumps absolutely everything in the database to the page, showing me all the records of other people that I shouldn't be able to see. These breaches come down to apostrophes, hyphens, and semicolons. They come down to very, very simple secure coding practices, filtering those characters. That's how most of this hacktivism has been working of late. So I'm going to switch back to my actually, no, I'll do one more demonstration. I'm going to be impromptu because this will be fun. Would anyone like to see some modern malware and show how it steals data? Yeah. Anyone interested in that? Okay, cool. How many of you have seen fake antivirus or been infected with malware at home? Right? Most of you, it's pretty popular stuff right now. Okay, so what I've got is a series of emails that have come into my email inbox here. Now, this is a surefire example of how to get someone to open an email. You name it, company salary packages. Okay? If you take a CD and you write salary on it and you throw it on the floor, someone will probably run 100 miles with it to be able to play it. It's astonishing the rates of success that this will generate. So I'm going to open up this salary.pdf. Now over here on my other system, I have got a nice little attacker's workstation. It looks really scary, doesn't it? Excellent. So on the left here, we've got a PDF, which is the PDF that I've just opened. And on the right, we've got a command and control window. And this is what the bad guys will see when I open my PDF. Does anyone here read PDF? That was a long shot. Happened once. It was amazing. The guy was from Adobe. He came up to the front of the room. It's in a 3-hour version of this seminar, and we drew out the PDF by hand. And he could read PDF with his mind. I mean, what a superpower. That might even work in a bar. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? So we drew this PDF, and we turned around to the audience, and, well, the reaction was could you all just do this? Everyone was aghast, which we assumed was probably aghast with our mathematical capability. I think in reality they were all thinking those guys are never getting laid. Anyway, on the right here, all of a sudden we've got this Windows command prompt that's appeared. If I go back to my Windows system, you'll see that salary.pdf has crashed. This could be the browser, could be anything else. This happens about 16 times a day to most of us anyway. In the background, it's downloaded and installed some malicious code without even asking me, and it's connected back out to my attacking system. So this is what I can now see. So this bad guy on the other side of the world can now go browsing around my documents. They can look at the medical database or very confidential documents. They can turn on the webcam and take photos of you. If you keep your laptop in your bedroom and you have a webcam, it can be very difficult to explain to your partner why you're on a porn site and that it was an accident. She probably won't believe you. They can basically access and do anything that you could, including installing software. So here I've installed some fake antivirus. Now please prepare a sympathetic ooh, okay? Ooh. Oh, come on, that was rubbish. Really? I brought live malware and it flashes and everything. So here we go. The Windows Security Center pops up in the background here. This is something you might recognize. Have you seen this before? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here we've got Microsoft's own Security Center telling us to register the fake AV product. And if we close it down, we can see all of the viruses here. Looks like a real antivirus product. It's got settings that you can change. It's even got advanced detection. It's a perfect replica of a security product. Cryptic options that no one understands. It's exactly what we expect from the security industry, isn't it? So this thing now in the background is stealing data, has access to company assets, but most importantly as well to your employee, they're being convinced to register this product. You see, it used to be free to get infected with malicious code. You can change it back to that one now. Cheers. It used to be free to get infected with malicious code and have your data stolen, but now people pay $29.99 for the privilege of having all of their information taken from them. And this is exactly the kind of thing that we see 150,000 new examples of every single day. An astonishing quantity of malware. They're using social media to attack us. Now, if I could draw all of your eyes to the left-hand side of the screen for a moment. Like, really, turn your heads. Seriously, over here. Thank you. You're my new best friend. I will hug you later. It's entirely optional, by the way. No sexual harassment required. So, We're starting to see examples of them using, banking sites. We're starting to see examples of them hitting us up via Twitter, the age-old adage that sex sells, but far more credible social engineering as well. We're starting to see examples of emails from colleagues that fall well within the bounds of normal communication. The bad guys are really, really good, not just at writing code, but socially engineering us into doing things and giving away our information. But it doesn't have to be hard. And I'll give you an example of the kinds of social issues that we're facing in IT now. Does anyone here drink Starbucks? Yes, it's brown water, isn't it? Yes. Sorry, coffee. I keep getting that wrong. So here we've got a page. This is an older example, but one that I still love. Created on Facebook, which says, join for a free $25 gift card to Starbucks. Now that's excellent, because $25 of coffee, we can boil it down to one latte so you can turn your Mac on in the morning. Now, in real life, we all have a code for whether we trust people or not, don't we? We very quickly make assumptions. For example, if you walk into a used car sales office, you walk up to the gentleman, he stands up and he's got one of those skinny ties on. You know the ones I mean? They're not quite a full tie, they're kind of a half tie with polka dots kind of spots on it, yeah? And a sharp suit does this a lot, slick back hair, and he walks up to you, and I'll do this to Martin, and he says, I'll be honest with you. Immediately all of you think, he's about to lie to my face, right? We have this code that flashes in our brain, but the same thing doesn't apply when we're using a computer. The very first sentence on this page says, this is not a scam. If it says this is not a scam, what is it?
Scam.
It's a scam. But thousands and thousands of people registered for this. Let's take a look at what they signed up for. Number 1, they go to join. Number 2, click share. Number 3, invite people to join. Excellent. Not only will you be getting your brown water, but your friends will too. 4, erase everything in your address bar. That's where facebook.com is typed. Now, copy and paste this code into the address bar and hit enter. Note this code won't work with Internet Explorer, only Mozilla, Firefox and Safari. People actually copy the nasty looking horrible code from the page and run it. This virus writer was too lazy to write a virus. So they asked people nicely to run it. And people did. It's amazing. Step 5, once you've done that, your friends in the box should turn blue. They've turned blue because you just screwed them by sending them malware, so they certainly won't be interested in taking you to the pub to console you about the fact that you've lost all of your personal information, because on the next page, you get a nice thank you. You are just minutes away from being complete, which is great, because I was hoping for some free coffee. I didn't realise all of my life's purpose was leading up to this very moment. 0 fraud tolerance. It's got a padlock, so it must be safe. The normal procedure applies. Good to know this particular Chinese hacking gang won't be sharing my personal information with any other hacking gangs. They're the only ones that are going to screw me. And I've given away access to my computer, access to my social media profile and my personal information, all in a couple of minutes of trying to get my morning caffeine high. It can be that easy. And the bad guys can generate thousands and thousands and thousands of examples of this every day. So, I'm going to start to draw to a close. The message I want to get across is that there is a huge expansion in the nature of the bad guys' attacks. There's a huge increase in the volume and the intelligence. Whereas for many years, security has been about fixing Microsoft's screw-ups. Sorry, Microsoft. Actually doing a great job today, I commend you. Today, security is much more complicated. Today, we're facing an adversary that is well-funded, that is building a black army to go against the talent that you're trying to procure to protect businesses. Today, security incidents will happen physically. People will drive and ram raid through buildings, which is our excuse for having a moat around Sophos. We actually have one, it's brilliant. You should come and look, there are no sharks yet. Physical security can be an issue. Social. We need security experts that understand culturally how to get the message across. Alcohol, drink driving a BlackBerry can be incredibly dangerous. And it took a long time to find that flaming drink. It looks quite pretty, doesn't it? Are there any users here, BlackBerry users? BlackBerry, yes. iPhone, very popular. Windows Phone 7? Yeah. Nokia. No Nokia users. Oh, there's got to be one. Really? What Nokia do you have, sir? A really old one. Really? Can you show it to me? Your phone. Wow. That is retro. See, that's cool. Retro is another way of saying really old and lame, by the way. That's awesome. I commend that. Can you browse the internet on that? Just. Does it support Bluetooth? You might want to turn it off for this next bit. No, I'm kidding. That's very cool. Actually, our CEO uses a Nokia because the battery lasts for weeks. They're brilliant. But we do need to be able to get our message across. You see, IT security has been this technical field talking about information assurance and exploits and hacks. And that struggles to make its way across to every individual in a business. It struggles to make it across to our friends and family. And unfortunately, it makes it really difficult for people to get passionate about this subject, which in turn can limit the talent pool available. No one in school goes, I want to grow up and be in information assurance. Just doesn't happen. So we need those cultural skills. We need people to research. We're going through an explosion in the number of different devices and operating systems we're all going to use. And they're not innately secure. They can all be attacked, just like that conventional PC. The methods are different, but it's going to happen. It's only because it's just recently we've started putting data on these devices the bad guys want to steal that they're attacking them. It's not that they're magically secure. We need experts in defining process to deal with things like lost laptops and proving our compliance to the Information Commissioner. It's no longer enough to be able to do the right things technically. We have to have the paperwork trail to demonstrate it. And I've used a MacBook Air, which is my other computer, incidentally, because they're so thin that you can fold them up and put them in an issue of Vogue, which I've never bought, and throw it in the trash. And it's really, really easy to do and hard to explain to IT. So we need experts in process. We need experts in legal. More and more, we're using third parties. We're using the cloud. We're doing strategic outsourcing. The perimeters of how we deal with data and technology are completely breaking down. I love this picture, by the way. Third-party facepalm. For when there is so much fail, you need that extra bit of outside help. That should be a poster in every office, I think. But we need legal expertise working in the security problem domain to help us make sure that our partners are behaving responsibly and dealing with data. We need people to help us with the cultural issues. And this is again a big challenge that has existed in the security industry over the last few years. You see, there's this assumption of technical people that if we write enough code and enough technology, we can stop people from doing stupid things, which just doesn't work. You look at some of the latest technology out there like DLP, data leakage prevention. It starts with this notion that you're going to go and find all of a business's data, and then you're going to classify it all. And you're going to write this really amazing policy that dictates who can access it, when, where, why, and for what purpose. And then once you've spent your $60 billion doing that, it's going to take about 10 minutes before the CFO is blocked from sending his end-of-year accounts and someone in IT gets shot. We need to be comfortable with letting go of control and building awareness and helping users to do the right thing, helping them survive these mistakes. And of course, forevermore, we need technical skills. But the interesting challenge we'll all have is we're going to see a 10 times increase in the number of different roles centered around technologies, with all these new products and capabilities coming into the market. And what's more critical than anything else is aptitude. IT security is no longer going to be about deep specialism in a given area, but it's going to be about your approach and your ability to think about how the bad guys will attack you. That live demonstration I delivered earlier, the ability to think, can I trick this application into doing something that it shouldn't, with something as simple as an apostrophe? The skill to know when to research, the skill to know when to stop, to be creative, is even more critical than the ability to know an extremely long command line on a given operating system. Now, why is this field important? Well, it's important to protect the reputation of companies like Sony and things like that. It's important to protect all of our data, sure. But more fundamentally, there's a link that I don't think has been strongly enough established yet. You've all seen the government invest 650 million into the cybersecurity problem domain in the middle of the age of austerity, right? Well, they're not doing that because they think that cybersecurity is a jolly good thing to focus on. They're doing it because they recognise that our ability as UK PLC, every one of us, to protect data is a key factor in economic confidence. Confidence in businesses investing in us internationally. Confidence from the consumer to buy online. The UK has a disproportionately large amount of its GDP growth attributable to IT versus other developed countries in Europe. Their investment in security is because we need it to develop our country and to grow. Take a look at unusual channels as a piece of advice for you looking to recruit, in particular, technical talent. The UK Cybersecurity Challenge, you can find them here. This is an initiative that I'm involved with, lots of other people from public and private sector, running online competitions, trying to find talented technical people from outside the conventional stale IT security pool, trying to find people who've just come out of university, assess their talent in more unconventional games and connect them up with jobs. This is a great resource for all of you. It's in its second year and we're continuing and building. We are seeing a drastic reduction in the number of people studying IT at GCSE and A-level. And I guess above all else, in the first part of my presentation I talked about the bad guys escalating their game. That isn't going to stop. Will be over 200,000 pieces of malicious code easily by the end of this year. We'll see more and more devices. We'll see more and more applications for mobiles, more and more security issues. We're probably at the most significant point in shift since we moved from the mainframe. And already, we don't have the right talent pool. 90% of businesses, according to a survey you can find on the UK Cybersecurity Challenge site, are struggling to get the right IT security talent. So, there's an elevator pitch for the importance of IT security, how it's going to change, and the mass explosion of technologies and creativity. If you want to stay abreast of this topic and know what's going on, download a copy of the Security Threat Report. It's on sophos.com. It's free and outlines in very plain, simple English with lots of quotes and statistics that you can use in your everyday life, exactly what the bad guys are up to. Feel free to contact Sophos and our experts and other such people. That's the moat. Look at that. See, it's not really deep enough for sharks. Yeah. And follow the Naked Security blog, which has the latest incidents like Sony and can give you very plain speaking advice on what's happening and tells on the kinds of skills that people might be looking for. Most importantly, here is me on Twitter and LinkedIn. I'm easy to find online. Look for the guy with the massive ginger afro. I only had a haircut yesterday. I do hope this presentation has been entertaining and useful, and thank you very much.
Thank you, James.